Today's guest is Curran. He is the founder of the clothing brand Local Laundry, and he's also the new owner of, because he just bought it, We Are CDN. We Are Canadian, another clothing brand. Connor and I have known each other for a few years now. The clothing world is not that big, so very excited to have him on. All right, Connor, my man, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Very well, thanks. Thanks so much for having me. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it was awesome to see you. I was happy. Obviously I've been following you online, and when you reached out to catch up, I said, hey, why not, do this on the pod? I think it's
I love it.
Gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm an avid fan, following across all your platforms, Dragon's Den, all your ventures, everything. I love it. You're an inspiration. I just love what you do, and got a great positive attitude. So I was like, I need a little bit more Sawyer in my life. So I just reached out. So
yeah, awesome. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's been since we met. It's been a few years. That was before COVID, I think, when we met, right?
It's got to be 2018, 2019 at the max when we first connected.
Yeah.
A lot's happened, but I really believe that, we got to stick together as, entrepreneurs and small business owners, and we got to help out each other as much as we can. And so I just like staying connected.
Yeah. Well, I see you're hosting a lot of like founder meetups and things like that. Like what's that about?
Yeah. So we've always kind of hosted I just love people, man. I just love connecting with other small business owners. When I first started this thing, I would just find people online and be like, hey, you got a cool business. Do you want to go for a coffee and meet up? And they'd be like, okay. Most of them said no. They thought I was a creep, but some people said yes. And then over time, I'd be like, man, I just had this coffee with this other guy that you would love to chat with. They can help solve the problem you're trying to figure out. Yeah. Or like, you should meet this person. And I was like, why don't we just get everyone together? So we started doing these meetups. It's called Startup and Beers, where we just got all of our small business friends, all of our entrepreneurs that we know, all of them together in one room, and just all go around, introduce ourselves, who we are, what we do, what we need help with. And then that was just a great way for everyone just to connect, get to know one another, and just get right to the thick of things of how they can help each other grow.
Right. Yeah. And it's a lot of people say, your net worth is your network, or whatever, vice versa. And it's true. Like when you can brush shoulders with similar minded people, especially in our space, like the entrepreneurial space, we're such a minority that, it's sometimes it can be tough to find people to relate to and people to discuss those types of problems and things that are happening within our businesses with. So I think it's awesome that you're facilitating that. I know that in my small town, I wish I had that. I really thirst for that. My poor employees, like, I'll mess, like, because I love thinking about business. I love talking about business.
Can't turn it off.
No, can't turn it off. And that's why I started this pod. So it's just an invitation to speak to folks like you, and have these types of intellectually like stimulating conversations. And my poor employees, man, I'll hit them up like late, like 11 o'clock at night, whatever, with an idea. I'll text them, whatever. And I try to refrain from doing that, especially like the creative team members I have. When I have these ideas, I'm like, oh, what about this? Like product dev or logo or color or style or whatever. And I love it, man. Like people say, oh, you be careful with balance. You might burn out, all that stuff. And, maybe that stuff's true, but I love it. Like I get energy out of it. I've gotten energy in the last 5 minutes just being on this call with you.
Totally. And that's why I think having a business partner is so key, because, your team is your team and they'll love it, but they're never going to love it as much as you do.
Right.
And my business partner, I'm like, listen, am I texting you too much? Like, am I bothering you during family? He's like, no, text me day, night, anytime. I don't care, because I'm probably thinking the exact same things.
Right.
So I get my best thoughts in the shower. I just like stand in the shower. And I'm like, what do I do this? And then I get out of the shower.
Me in the shower, bro.
Yeah. Well, I usually wait till I'm like soaking wet. I'm like, shower thought. What do we do? This. And it's funny. We just had a meeting today, and we had our annual strategy meeting last week. It was like, we got to do this. We did this great this last year, but this not so much. We did this, and now this week I'm just like buzzing. I'm like, we got to do everything. We got to do. And he's like, Connor, relax. Let's focus on one thing at a time. Yep. Let's not try and do everything all at once. And I'm like, I just want to get it all done. I'm so excited.
I know. I'm the same way. We my friend. So I have some friends here. They own. They're together, but they have separate businesses. So one has a consulting business and one has a few Dairy Queens. And the three of us were going to start a rental business here a few years ago before COVID. We were going to do CCAN. sea cans on the water. We bought the land and everything, but for tax reasons, the three of us all being business owners and the association, it just taxing, there was like just some complications. So it never took off. But the reason I bring up this story is they're polar opposite operators. One of them is so careful, so slow, so thought out. So, you know, and then his partner is really fast. Like, let's do it now. Like, let's go. Let's do this, you know, and kind of like my personality, you overlook some details that way. And I think that balance, we called it the race car. He would categorize me as the race car. I'm always in a hurry to get somewhere. And I think that balance with a partner is important, where you have someone that can kind of pump the brakes every once in a while, you know, and then the counterbalance of like, let's go and get shit done, you know?
Yeah. We're a healthy combo that way. We call ourselves, I'm the bulldozer and he's the steamroller. You know, I'm swinging things, making a mess of the place, but always pushing us forward. And he's the one making a nice clean path, you know, behind us. And he's also the money guy, so he's the adult in the relationship. It's like I would have been out of business so long ago if it wasn't for him, because he's like, you know what, these are all great ideas, Connor, but which one is the one? Yeah, what's actually going to make us money here?
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough. So were you guys friends first, or business partner? Like, how did that relationship come about?
Oh, that was a friend of a friend. I was working at the time. I was working full time, and a buddy of mine, a colleague, introduced me to Dustin, who was they went to school together, and so we're the same age. We know a lot of the same people, but we never really knew each other here in Calgary. And he's just like, I really like what you're doing. I'd love to join, and I desperately needed a business partner, and I needed some help, and so we wrote out like a contract and everything, and who was in charge of what, and we gave ourselves a 6-month trial period, and then after that we really liked working with each other. You know, I think we were always trying to prove each other's worth to one another. And wrote out a shareholders agreement, and that was 2015. So we've never looked back, and he's like a brother to me now. Like the trust is there. Like we both have the same vision, the same goals, but different skill sets, different strengths, you know, and it's just a match made in heaven.
Did you have someone advising that back in 2015, like saying, okay, guys, here's the template, like, you know, like, you know, get the shareholder agreement in order, and the reason I ask is I've had partners on 2 different occasions. One, we did the race car style, where it's just like, you know, we can do this, we'll figure it out along the way. But then of course there was problems with the lack of thoughtfulness in that partnership. And then with Cabina, my rentals in Nova Scotia, I have a partner that I spent a long time getting to know before working with. And then we've got all the legality stuff in place. And I learned my lesson to be careful and wise and thoughtful and look at skill set and those things. With this new partner, mind you, I'm 31 now. And my first partnership, I was a lot younger and immature and irresponsible. So did you have someone so many years ago helping, advising, and making suggestions on how you go through that partnership process?
Yeah, it was my dad. I mean, my dad's an entrepreneur. He had some, you know, business partnerships, you know, go sour and that kind of thing. And now he owns a restaurant with my mom. So they raise 4 kids together. They're married and they run a business together. And I have no idea how they do it, which is crazy. But he advised me on the risks, you know, and making sure that everything is in place. And I'd heard so many horror stories, you know, like you had mentioned, where it's just had to do it right from the start, how to make it serious, how to clear expectations, clears roles and responsibilities, just get all that boring stuff out of the way first. But it's been great, because that's the number one thing I've heard why businesses fail. It's not money, it's not strategy, it's majorities of small businesses fail because of failed partnerships, failed relationships.
Right.
You know, and everything in business is a relationship. Everything comes down to relationships. We're not very good at much, that's the but we're good, I think, at maintaining and building relationships.
Right. And I hope that anyone listening to this that is looking to start a business with a potential partner listens to what you just said like 4 times, because I couldn't agree more. I can't stress enough how important it is to do that due diligence kind of in advance, and be honest with yourself, your skills, but also your limitations, how you can contribute, also with your time. Do I have 40 hours a week? Do I have 60? Do I have 10? be realistic with those things, up front with your partner. So, because it's all going to come out eventually, you might as well come out with it up front and say, this is what I can do, what I can't do. Let's put our egos aside. Very important. And then, outline a plan that's going to work for everybody, that everybody agrees to, with zero deception, zero persuasion. This is what it is. It's black and white. Do we agree? Do we not?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's been working out. But I want to hear more about you. What have you been up to the last little bit since we last chatted? Where's Country Liberty at? Where's everything at? Where do you want to take it? Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
What's your vision?
Well, geez, if it's 2018, 2019, a lot has changed, a lot has changed and a lot has stayed the same. I mean, I opened and sold a resort in that time. So I had a small, like an extension of Country Liberty called Liberty Village, 8-cabin resort here in my hometown. Really fun. I learned the basics of like construction projects and project management, and just like the good, the bad, and the ugly that goes into that type of business. Built it up, operated it, and sold it. So that was since you and I have, I guess, last seen each other.
Why'd you want to sell it?
Well, actually, when I got into that, I was like, I love work. I love I'll
you're a workhorse,
yeah. But I was like, I love it. I love it in theory. I love it. I grew up playing Roller Coaster Tycoon, which is so silly to people, but I was like, holy shit, I can play this. Yeah, I can play this in real life. This is awesome, right? So I just went after it. And I was humbled. I realized my limitations. I learned a lot. I took so much good of that, but I did realize, okay, you can't just because something's good in your head. It doesn't. The difference between theory and execution and reality is often different, and you have to be realistic with that. So I learned a lot with that business, and that business led me to my new partner with the Nova Scotia rental business. So I was running Country Liberty, Liberty Village, and then building Cabina all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And each part, I mean, Country Liberty, I knew what the time demand for that, but Liberty Village took more time and energy than I thought. Cabina started to take more time and energy than I thought. So I just said, I have to be more realistic with my time, energy, and what I want to do. And I got to be more focused instead of like so widespread of just, I can do anything, So decided to sell that and become laser focused on the two businesses now that I'm running. And nice thing about Liberty Village too was I got to learn firsthand. Like often I was driving nails. I was, so I learned every step of that project, and then I could apply those teachings to the new project at Cabina, and all the mistakes I made with phase 1, Liberty Village, I could apply to Cabina. So it was a really great experience. But it definitely kind of put things into perspective of my own limitations and my own, like I was getting a little crazy trying to run 3 businesses at once. Right.
Yeah,
So that's kind of how I felt. And then, I mean, Country Liberty, which we're going to talk a lot about clothing on this pod, but Country Liberty, the grind, man, just trying to sell more stuff, come out with better stuff, better quality stuff, new retailers, sell more online, learn new marketing tricks and stuff. And, so all that we've been working hard. Just got into lids here in the fall,
nice.
or late summer. Yeah. So that was a big one.
Congratulations. Just with hats?
Just with hats. Yeah. We got I think it's 6 SKUs of hats with lids. We got in right at the end of the summer. That was like
across the country.
No, we're piloted here in Atlantic to start, and hopefully, based on sell through and things, hopefully we did sell through once so far since we've been in. So it's been a really good sign.
That's awesome.
And then, so trying to expand into that. I love hats, man. I love skewing hats. One size fits all. They're light. Yeah. They're fun to design. They're unisex. Hats are great. So
we see a lot of opportunity in hats. Yeah. What's your strategy? So one of the things that we really failed at when we expanded to retail is that, like you said, the sale through. I think our theory was like, oh, we just got to get in as many stores as we can. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we got into his store, it was like, okay, great, let's get into the next store and the next store. And we didn't really focus on the sell through. The hard part's not getting in the store, we learned. The hard part is actually staying in the store, like you mentioned.
I agree.
What were your strategies? And we're pretty much out of the retail game altogether now. But what were your strategies for selling through once you're actually in the store, for making sure that your product actually moves in the store?
That that worry or that concern, I don't think ever goes away. I've talked to
Mm.
people that have been much more successful than me, and the sell through is always big because it's a chicken before the egg. You want to get in the store, but you're not in that market yet, right? So until you're
Yeah.
in that market, you don't know your level of awareness and the level of demand for your product. But you got to get in the store to kind of start and figure it out, and then you do your best to hope that you sell through. So with for lids, for example, because it was such a big opportunity, we did a whole campaign around it, and I activated I think it was 50 micro influencers. So I was giving out a ton of free product and hoping that they would post and specifically talk about the new lids partnership. So long story short, a lot of marketing goes into it. And as we know, marketing can be really expensive, or you can, it's either money or time and energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you work your ass off, like, contacting 50 different people, coordinating that, or you spend a bunch on social media ads, like there's different ways, but I think the answer is definitely marketing. And also, stretch of good luck. You have to have faith in your product. Your product has to be good value and good quality, and people got to want to buy it. A stranger needs to come in completely uneducated on your product and leave that store with it in their bag, right? Enough times that you sell through. So it's really, it's tough, man. It's one of my biggest concerns as I expand. It's like, how do I create demand in markets I've never been to yet?
Yeah.
It's tough, man. I don't know the outright answer, to be honest.
Well, I'll tell you, we sucked at it, so we just stopped. We stopped doing it. We were not good. Are you still in all the studios? Oh, that
Yeah.
was your
Yep.
big one last time we chatted.
Yeah, studio. Yep. So we're still doing really well with them. Have a close partnership with them. We're in a lot of independents as well.
A lot of
Um,
boutiques.
yeah, like mom and pop shops. I like both for different reasons. I like the diversity of having one-off stores,
Yeah.
single store owners. I like working with single store owners
Oh
because
yeah.
they're like us, right? They're
Yeah.
they're just running their small business and they're doing the best that they can, right? So I really like that. And then obviously studio, the chains, it's nice too, because you get the volume and it's, you're trading emails with one person that represents 25, 30 stores,
Yeah.
right? So you're not sending 30 emails, you're sending one email to a person that can allocate inventory to all
But
those
it's
different stores, right?
it's a different ball game. Like and it's a different process. You got the boutique store. Hey, I need 30 hats. All right, we'll ship you 30 hats.
Yep.
Away you go. Where it's like, hey, we need the hats for 30 stores, and they got to have like the proper labels. The boxes got to be marked. You got
Yeah.
to. I don't know if you deal with like EDI. Like they got to arrive right at the exact same time on the exact same
Mhm.
pallet.
Yeah.
It was such a headache for us.
So did you guys pull out a retail, or what's your strategy now? Just e-com or events
Ecom,
or?
mostly custom. Custom, we've seen a massive,
Okay.
especially during COVID. So about 80% of our revenue is now custom partnerships.
Really?
So yeah, working, making ways into the corporate space, the promo space,
Cool.
creating custom clothing for, banks, energy companies, um, architecture companies, breweries. That's our bread and butter these days. Um, and that's where we spend most of our time. Ecom, a little bit, but yeah. And then we're also on a an acquisition spree.
Yeah, well, I seen that. Yeah, I want to ask you
Yeah,
about that. You spot the so is it We Are Canadian or
right.
or how
We
do you
should
say it?
CDN. We just
CDN.
call it
Okay.
CDN. Yeah, yeah. So this was another great brand run by a fantastic guy, very similar to us. Like I feel like you and I are so similar in so many aspects, and like this guy. Anyways, we could have a band, but he started
Can
out in
any of us play
Kelowna.
an instrument?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But yeah, this guy started a very similar brand to like our two brands, but out in Kelowna, and same thing. Came down to time. He had a full time gig and that kind of thing. So we really see there's a lot of great opportunities to acquire similar brands and leverage their brands to help us grow online, help us grow through our corporate,
Yep.
that kind of thing. And it just kind of like I think it's so hard as independent like clothing businesses, because we're at the bottom rung for all the economies of scale, right?
Yep.
We're paying the most for every single thing.
Making
you
the
know,
least. Yep.
and making the least,
Yep.
right? So I think there's an opportunity to kind of grow and bring as many of these clothing companies all under one umbrella,
Mhm.
leverage our shared resources, leverage talent, leverage, like even
Yep.
like this warehouse space, right? We cut down his costs, his warehousing space right away because we just moved him into our warehouse, didn't increase our overhead at all.
Right.
We have a fulfillment person, a warehouse shipping person,
Yep.
didn't add to our overhead, So yeah, we acquired them. We're in the process of acquiring our second company.
Awesome.
That should close by the end of this month, and then talking to a couple others here. So yeah, that's our big plan is, and we see the opportunity in custom. So
Yeah.
we haven't quite we ditched the retail because we sucked at it. We kind of got something going with e-commerce, but we haven't cracked that egg yet.
Okay.
So, but custom, we seem to have a lot of success. So we want to grow custom across the brands, and then hopefully along the way figure out e-com and
Right.
scale that across all the brands too.
So are you running two separate ecom stores now for both brands? And
Yeah.
is that the long-term plan to kind of keep things separate, but in-house internally it's one of the same, but externally it's separate with different social pages and websites and stuff?
Yeah, we are really heavily inspired by Bernard Arnault and the LVMH model. If you're familiar with it, or if anyone who's not, like every single luxury brand in the world is all owned by one guy, Bernard
Ah,
Arnault. He's the richest man in the world, this French guy.
okay.
And he bought up, he's so smart. He's so smart. He bought up all these struggling fashion houses. So it started with Christian Dior. He bought Christian Dior for like 10, 12, 14 million back in the 80s, and then like brought it back to life. And then he bought, Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy, every single luxury brand that you can think of is now owned by the Tiffany's,
Wow.
Ralph Lauren. They're all owned by one company, but they all have you go to a mall and they're all the different stores, the different
Right.
brands, the different faces,
Gotcha.
and but they're all able to leverage the shared resources of the entire network, the entire team,
Yep.
and so I think there's an opportunity there with local clothing companies where we kind of keep them all separate. They all have their own unique identity, their own
Yep.
demographic, maybe geographic location,
Yep.
but and they can all continue doing all the good that they're doing in those communities, but they can kind of survive and thrive because they're kind of backed by this,
Right.
um, umbrella, if you will.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I mean, if your MOQ or your minimum order, for those that don't know what that is say 300 black hoodies, just for easy numbers, you could do 150 hoodies for that brand, 150, and you meet your threshold, right? I totally get that.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah. So
totally get that.
that's where we're excited. That's where we're excited to do. And again, it's like I said, I think us clothing companies, we really need to stick together because it's not local laundry versus Country Liberty. It's local laundry and Country Liberty versus the big guys versus Abercrombie
Right.
and Fitch versus Sheen, versus people that don't care about the community, reinvesting back in the community, making a good quality product.
Yep.
Little things like customer service, answering an email, picking up the phone, how
Yep.
can we help? They don't care. So we got to stick together. We got to find ways that we can, gain an advantage over the big dogs,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that is really exciting. And I remember seeing that, and because I followed that brand for a while too, long before you got involved, and because I mean we pay attention, right? Like you and I were connected for years now, so of course you pay attention to the other entrepreneurs that are the grassroots brands that are starting up, and you kind of watch. So I think it's a perfect fit. And is that all Canadian made goods as well?
It's kind of half and half.
Okay.
All their clothing, use the same manufacturers as we do.
Okay.
So that was an easy win.
Right.
So their clothing is Canadian made, but their hats aren't.
Okay.
So that also opens us up on the corporate side of things. Because we've lost a lot of deals on the corporate side of things because we're all Canadian made and we don't fit the budget.
Gotcha.
And so we were tired of leaving money on the table. So now we can kind of present them with two options where it's like, hey, do you want the premium Canadian made, luxury, or we're like, the really fancy hat?
Yep.
a little bit expensive. We sell those custom for 35, $40, minimum 100 units.
Yeah.
Or if you're a little bit more budget friendly or you need a little bit quicker, we have another great option for you. Both are fantastic hats, great quality, but one's made in Canada, one's not. So we give people the option. And already we took over the brand in November. Already we have two massive opportunities, two massive partnerships that were not a good fit for local laundry.
Right.
Just they wouldn't have been a good fit, but are a great fit for CDN because it's a different demographic. Like CDN is more athlete focused, a lot more hockey focused, which local laundry is not.
Right.
And so you can kind of pull two levers where it's like, okay, this might not work with this brand, but we have this other one, and then you have more, a lot more options.
Yeah, instead of confusing the customer with, geez, why is he doing a hockey thing now? Now he's doing a sustainability thing. Now he's doing you can get a brand for each.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah, exactly. And you're leveraging their existing community, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and the equity that they built, rather than just starting from scratch.
Right.
And so and the owner, like Marco, he's a great guy. He's still involved. He still does this one partnership we got cooking. He's doing some design work for us, so he gets to see his legacy, the thing that he built,
right,
carry on
and still help with it, still influence it,
still be a part of it. And so it's I don't know. Come talk to me. We'll talk in another couple of years. I'll tell you if it was a good idea or not. This might all blow up in my face. But.
Hindsight's always 20/20, right? But I firmly believe you don't win and lose, you win and learn. So with the struggles, things like, I mean, you're a hustler, man. You'll figure it out, right? Even if there's setbacks or if there's things that you didn't anticipate, whatever, you'll figure it out. That's what you're bred for.
My favorite quote of this last year has been, "You just have to survive. You just have to be in the game long enough. You just have to survive long enough in order to get lucky." And that's exactly what you said, and that's exactly what you are. It's like we're hustlers, we're survivors. We're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives, and we just got to stay. We just got to stay in the game long enough to get lucky. Yep. How many clothing brands do you know that? Because when did you start?
Well, I started in university in 2016, but when I got out of school was 2017.
So how many clothing companies, like I like how you described us, like grassroots clothing companies. How many grassroots clothing companies do you know that's been around?
95% of them have come and gone.
Yep. It's even any business over 5 years is very difficult. But the fact that both you and I somehow managed to continue kicking, like we're still in the game.
I think the difference is it has to be tried and true to who you are. There's a lot of what I call entrepreneurs that they like the idea of it. Geez, I want to be a rich business owner. I want to expense my cell phone and buy a boat and expense the gas. And people have that like mindset, but what they don't understand is like, I think it was 2 or 3 years I worked on Country Liberty before I took a penny out of that business.
Oh yeah.
And that's, especially clothing, you have to sell so much before you make anything. Like people don't get that. So they're like, well, geez, I'm going to order 50 shirts. I'm going to flip them and I'm well on my way to success, man. It's like, wake up call. Yeah. And I always tell people, if I knew how hard it was and how much you had to sell and all that, if I knew that in advance and I wasn't naive, I may not have gotten started in this industry, but I just jumped in blindly like a race car driver, like I said. And, but yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with a lot of people that want to start a clothing brand. On paper, it seems easy to get into it. Very few barriers of entry. You need a logo and a printer, and an Instagram page. But it's really hard to build brand. It's really, really hard to sell in volume. Those are really hard things. And it's critical to your success with a clothing line. And I feel like that's why a lot fizzle out. People just maybe give up a little bit too early.
Well, there's no money in clothing. And we've definitely seen it, post 2020, everyone and their dog has started a clothing company. Every influencer with a couple thousand followers, every brand, everyone has just started their own clothing. So the clothing, it's a saturated market. There is more clothes out there than is needed, So it's difficult. But man, if you can make it in this business, like you can make it in any business.
Yeah. And that's kind of the attitude I have too. And I have that with say our market, like our primary market is Atlantic Canada. Well, compared to Western Canada, much lower income, much lower disposable income, higher unemployment rates, things like that are just hard statistics. And I always say, it's like, geez, if I could sell in Atlantic Canada, I could sell anywhere in the US or in the Western Canada or things. Cause I mean, even the price sensitivity out West, I mean, people are for very similar sweaters to we're producing, people are paying a lot more out west than
Yeah.
they are out east, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's something to say about just getting after it. You're not going to strike gold on the first swing of the bat. It's just, you just got to get into it. You got to go. You got to try your best. You can't bankrupt, you can't sink the ship, but you just got to get after it. And through the process of becoming who you need to be successful, that's the real prize. And then you can apply those skills and experience and stuff to maybe a business that is a little easier. Yeah, that actually makes money. That's a little easier to, that's maybe just, geez, this is less moving parts than the clothing world. I don't know. But I just think that sitting inactive and wondering, geez, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. That's not how I roll. I like to get after it and try things and then adjust quickly if it's not working,
You got to get in the game. Yeah, 100%. And yeah, you just, the important thing is I'm having the time of my life. I could not imagine doing anything else. And it sounds like that you're the same. Like you're having a blast doing it,
Dude, my biggest concern is I have to schedule my day based on the time and energy I can actually give. Like I wish I had energy for 20 hours, because if I did, I would do this for 20 hours.
Yeah.
Like I'm aging and I'm feeling it, and I need to rest and things like that. And it's like, I only have maybe 8 really productive hours a day. How am I going to spend it? Versus, I wish I had 20 hours and could only sleep 4, because I would be productive for 20 hours if I could and sleep for 4. Like that's what I would do. If it's up to me, is I love it. Right.
How big is your team now?
So we have a full-time inventory manager. We have someone that is part-time doing a lot of high-level admin stuff. Full-time marketing person that works virtually, but she owns an agency, so she has a team with her, but she works like even more than full-time for me. And then I have a handful of by contract type relationships with designers and podcast producer, for example, and just things like that. So how about you?
We have 4 people full-time, 3 people full-time, and then 4 3 people full-time, and then 2 or 3 part-time virtual.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Do you guys have a warehouse, or where do you ship them?
Yeah. So we just built a warehouse, and I was the general contractor on this project, which was really fun. Good learning experience. I don't want to build a house anytime soon, unless I'm married and my wife can make the decisions. But so I just built a distribution center / warehouse here in my hometown in the industrial park, which has been really cool. And we operate out of here, man.
That's great. So how do you split your time between Country Liberty and the other business?
I don't. I jump back and forth, man. And it's not like everything I'm learning goes against doing that. But it's just kind of a mission critical, got to get shit done type mentality, because we're just at the finish line of phase 1 of Cabina. So when that's done, once we're operating, we have a full-time manager that's going to operate the comings and goings, where myself and my partner can just kind of interject as needed.
Yeah.
So we hope in theory that we're needed less, because we were the general contractors on that project. So once it's built and operating, our roles will kind of change. But I mean, I spend, I don't know, 85% of my time on Country Liberty.
And what's your vision with Country Liberty? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do with it?
Yeah, I got big aspirations, man, this year. I went to Nashville, a year and a half ago, and I've been to a lot of places, different countries, states, provinces, whatever. But when I went to Nashville, I was like, this is where Country Liberty needs to be. Have you ever been to Nashville?
No, but I followed your whole saga there.
There you go.
And I was like, this makes so much sense. Like, so much sense.
Yeah. So
it just fit. Everything fit.
Yeah. To me, man, I'm obsessed. I can't even sleep at night. It's all I think about. It's all I want to do is just find success down there. I know it's going to be really tough. But I'm working that stuff out. I had a call this week with an immigration lawyer. I'm looking into setting up a U.S. corp. I'm looking into complete strategy. I'm going to Project Show in Vegas in a month from today, actually, the big clothing trade show in Vegas, to hopefully meet U.S. retailers. I'm networking, doing partnerships and stuff down in the Southeast U.S. So that's what my heart really wants I want to bring this business to Tennessee and build in the Southeast US. That's really what I want to do. Hey, let's speak in a few years to see if we pulled it off. But
Yeah.
that's where my heart is right now, man. Yeah.
Have you heard of the Trade Accelerator program?
I have not. No.
So
What is that?
this is a free government funded program. We did it 2 years ago. That is just like a education on how to export as
Okay.
a business anywhere, and they set you up with like experts in sales, shipping, logistics, accountants, lawyers. We did it through the Calgary Economic Development
I'm going to write it down. What's the title of it?
Trade. I'm going to text it to you. The Trade
Okay, sure.
Accelerator program, and it's free, and it's just we're not like export is not something that we're too keen um, yet, but we took it and we just learned a ton. We just learned a ton. I think it could be really beneficial for
I
you.
the way you describe it, I think I last January or February I took a course. It was like a 6-week course, 2 full day commitment per week. Is that what this sounds like?
It could be, yeah. It could be.
And that's what it was. It was like, okay, here's your like logistics information. Here's your, tax expert. Here's your, so I did have access to a lot of that. But what I've realized about the US is, first of all, every industry is freaking different. Everyone.
Yeah.
So it's hard to just copy paste like general knowledge into your specific niche. And also every state is different. It's almost run like a different country per state.
That's a number one thing we learned. We're like, oh, just expand into the US. And they're like, okay, great. Which states? I'm like, all of them? And it's like, no,
all of them at the same time.
Every state is like in a different country with its rules and regulations, and it's difficult. It's difficult. But so like, what's your strategy for like wanting to get into Tennessee and like, would it be the same manufacturers? Would it be like, what would you do?
It's interesting because, I mean, you're in the made in Canada world, so you know the limitations with Canadian manufacturing. The US manufacturing as a Canadian importer wouldn't really make much sense, because if you're going to go international, you might as well go overseas. But if I'm in the US, I would highly consider US manufacturing in the US, right?
I think it means a lot more to them down there.
Yeah, that built American proud, so I'm considering that. I'm considering using my current suppliers, I don't know. Like, I feel like my business, like, there's always room for constant improvement, right? So my ears are always listening and my eyes are always open to different opportunities. But as of right now, those are kind of the 2 avenues that I'm looking into.
Have you seen a lot of sales online from down south?
Not a ton. We have some, but we don't market there yet.
Yeah.
So my plan is to get to spend significant time, like a few months of my year down there, so I can have boots on the ground, networking, be the actual sales rep, like be the guy, be the person that's like advocating for my brand, and try to get into some stores. I have a lot of country music association partnerships in the works, things like that. A lot of micro influencer type efforts, hosting music events, things like that, to just try to get things going. And I think if it's anything like the Atlantic Canadian market, when I get that awareness going, start building up some physical retail, the online sales and things will just kind of all happen in synergy. That's kind of my hope. But again, you don't know until you know, right?
The volume's there down there. Like, there's like the volume up in Canada is great, but down there it's just it's like 100x. And I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think the cultural difference is? One of the things that we've seen is like Americans are just so much more aggressive. Like they're not as much like risk adverse, like when it comes to like businesses. What are you thinking, like some of the big cultural differences you'll have to figure out?
Yeah, there's a lot. And I think the best way to educate yourself on it is to immerse yourself in the environment.
Yeah.
I think that's what I got to do. Even like price points, for example, are different. I mean, I know there's a 38% or 38, I think, percent exchange rate right now, but maybe they only pay $30 for a hat, no more. Maybe they expect free shipping. Like maybe, where in Canada people pay $12 for shipping, right? So there's so many different factors. It's like a whole new beginning. It's like starting a whole new business over again. which I'm a sucker for punishment because I just love those challenges, like just trying to do it right. But it's like you said, the market is massive. If you want to be a big clothing player in the country space, and unlike local laundry, you're made in Canada, that's your branding. We're not. So
Yeah.
if we want to make a big play, the US is the play. Okay, the US, where? The Southeast US, the country music hub of the freaking world, right? Like, so it, to me, just when you boil down the logic, it makes the most sense. Plus, personally, I really like Tennessee. I like the people.
Yeah.
I like the music. I like the atmosphere. I like the environment. I like the vibrance. So personally and professionally, I'm getting tugged there, man. And to be honest, I wish I wish I could just get all this shit done and be there tomorrow. Like all this
Really?
important stuff, that critical stuff that needs done before you go. It's like, man, I wish I could just do it, wake up tomorrow morning there and just be ready for life,
Really? Would you move down there full time?
Well, I can't disrespect the businesses I have here, right? So my foundation of Country Liberty is in Atlantic Canada and Canada. So of course I wouldn't disregard that. And I have a house. I bought a house that's like close to mom and stuff, like a house I wouldn't want to give up. So and the warehouse and stuff. So there's like reasons why I wouldn't just jump ship. But in an ideal world, I would split my time between Tennessee and New Brunswick.
Because that was my other question, is like, how do you balance that heavy expansion down south without alienating your foundation? That kind of,
Well, that's it.
Yeah, that'd be the tricky part. That'd be the
Yep.
challenge. But do you think in terms of product wise, would it be a different product offering? Like, do you think Americans would want something different?
Yeah. So I found out that I've already found out by getting inspired in Nashville, producing products that are very Nashville-esque, and then trying to apply them to Atlantic Canada, doesn't always correlate. So in a lot of ways, I wouldn't have two separate catalogs, but I would have to have like in mind. These SKUs are kind of more for the Southeast US. These SKUs are more for Atlantic Canada. And then trying to merge the two, but also being a pioneer in saying, like, these are the trends. Now we're going to be the brand to bring the trends to Atlantic Canada. But it's not just as easy as, well, that's a cool hat I seen down there, I'm going to sell a bunch of them in Atlantic Canada. There's a lot more to that, as I've been humbled and found out. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges. It's going to be tough, man. And a lot of it I don't have answers for. I think it's just getting after it, jumping in both feet and just figuring it out, along the way. I think that's going to be the cue.
Do you still want to expand like west? Like, I know Toronto, maybe, I don't know, it's Toronto market, but like west, like I think of Alberta, like we're the Texas of the North, up here.
Yeah. So we have some stores out west, like not in Toronto, but we have a few stores here in Ontario and a few in BC and Alberta, very small, but and we sell online to all those provinces. So I was faced with the decision of, where do I physically push next? Physically meaning, where does Sawyer Hannay get on a flight and go?
Yeah.
Where next? And to me, the logical move was Nashville versus flying to Alberta every month or whatever, like to try to get boots on the ground there. And what people don't realize about the US, we see this border as like this big rigid thing, especially with COVID. It's like, it really was a big rigid border that you literally cannot cross. So, but Nashville's actually a shorter flight to Calgary. Mileage wise, it's a shorter distance. Like, it's weird. It's weird to think about because it's in a different country.
Probably so a ton cheaper too.
Yeah, it's way cheaper to get out there. And, so I was faced with that decision, it's my intuition that's leading me to the Southeast US. I don't have any logical, outside of like kind of what we discussed. There's no like overwhelming logic that says like, Sawyer, you have to do this. But my intuition is telling me that is the move. And a lot of people question that. They're like, well, geez, Sawyer, I don't know. And it's like, well, you got to go with your gut, man. I don't know,
Oh, I see. It's a perfect place. It makes absolute sense in my mind. I think it wouldn't have made sense until like I saw all your content that you posted there, and like I don't know, just seeing the vibe and the atmosphere. And it was just like, it all just kind of clicked. I was like, oh yeah, this guy got to be there. But would you hire like a partner down there? Could you get someone to help be the boots on the ground? And
I don't I don't know. Like, there's a lot of stuff to figure out. I'm not just going to jump in bed with anybody, as we've discussed earlier,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
partnership thing, right? If I found that key person, I'm open. I'm open minded, man. You know, but I also see a lot of value in building a great team here, and then me overseeing virtually from a distance, but also, you know, coming back, spending half my year here, but when I'm away, virtually being that person, but being the lead soldier on the front line. I'm the guy that's going to war. I'm the guy that's going and trying to make those connects, right? Because as you probably have known yourself, when you pick up the phone versus a staff member, whoever's on the receiving end of that phone call is more likely to kind of give the extra listen to the owner, because it's like, holy shit, this is the owner. He didn't just delegate this to a junior employee and, you know, whatever. Like, this guy cares. And yourself, you love your business. I love my business. I hope that I communicate enthusiasm and excitement and things when I'm talking about my business, my brand. You know, so I feel like it's really hard to replicate that through another person. So and I enjoy it. So ideally that would be me. And then all the other important stuff, because there's so many important parts, that I could have those team members kind of doing those things while I'm the one on the front line, you know?
I think that makes so much sense. I'm so pumped to see how this all goes out. Changing subjects, and I know you've probably talked about this 1,000 times, and I hope that it doesn't feel like I'm interviewing you here, but I'm just so
No,
excited to
no,
talk
no,
to you.
man. No, that's
Uh,
great.
Tell me about Dragon's Den, because
Yeah.
I like when I saw you on Dragon's Den, I was so fired up. Like, I was so pumped just to see like another, like, as you call it, grassroots, another Canadian
Yeah.
clothing company on there, because I know how hard it is
Yeah.
as a clothing company to get up. They don't like clothing companies on there.
Well,
So I like,
clothing is the single hardest industry. That's what they told me.
is that what they said?
That to get on the show, not
To
necessarily
get
get
on
a
the show?
deal,
Oh yeah,
because they don't want 10 clothing brands. They want one per season, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
every Tom, Dick, and Harry starting a clothing brand. So,
yeah.
right?
Looking for investment. So just the
Yeah.
fact that you like got there, you got on air. You
Yeah.
know, like I was so proud. You know,
Oh, thank you.
I that a win for you. It kind of like felt for a win for all of us. So I was really pumped. But tell me about that experience, like the aftermath. Like,
Yep.
was it worth it? You know, all I want to hear it all.
Well, yeah. So I would say that being there, your business, knowing you as a person and knowing your business from the outside and a little bit that I know internally, I think that you could get on Dragon's Den. Like, I think
Yeah,
that you could. And I think that everybody should try, because it's if your business is in order, which I have a good feeling that yours is. I mean, if your business is a mess internally, don't do it. You're going to embarrass yourself, right? But if you study the show, which I did, I studied it because I didn't want to embarrass myself. I studied the show. I looked at my business, my numbers, things like that, and I said, okay, I got a good chance. Like, they're accepting deals based on this margin, based on this revenue, based on that evaluation, based on this profit, right? So I was like, okay, like, in theory, there could be a chance here, you know. And the time investment was, I impulsively, it was in the first quarter of the auditions, I seen an ad on my phone. They were doing, their producers were doing like the first level pitches in St. John, 2.5 hours away from me. I jumped in my truck, zero preparation, drove down to the producer because I had been rejected 2 years earlier.
yeah.
And I got my hopes up the first time, but I was a clothing business only, smaller numbers, smaller scale, still profitable, still that stuff, you know, but I never got past the first cut. So the second time I was like, I'm not going to get my heart set on this, but I know my business front and back. I'm just going to drive down and pitch. I brought some samples, winged it, pitched, had no preparation, nothing. I mean, in the truck, I was going through in my head, geez, I should say this, I should mention this, you know? So I get down there, I pitch, and in the pitching room, there's my table, like just a regular foldable table, and my producer I was pitching to. 8 feet over, there's another person pitching with another table and another producer. So I'm like, oh shit, like I'm going to be distracted by this other guy and vice versa. But he was nervous and he was more of a soft speaker and stuff than I was. So I just kind of went for it, kind of took over. And I actually got the attention of the other producer at the same time. So I kind of like kind of stole probably his
Stole the
time and was
show.
messing him up more than he was messing me up. But a big part of me getting on, which had no relevance on the show, was Liberty Village. They're like, geez,
Yeah.
you're clothing, but you're also promoting this lifestyle through accommodation. That's unique. That makes good television, because you have to remember, it's not always about good businesses. It's about what makes good television.
Yeah.
Right. So they said, okay, geez, that's interesting. So the producer really vouched for me. He's a great guy. He really, really vouched for me. And then COVID struck, because I went down in, like, let's say January. By March, COVID was a thing. And then it was August 30th, I pitched, but they didn't know how, if they could host the show, what the rules were going to be. So they said, you have two options. You can pitch virtually, which I was like, man, I'm getting on Dragon's Den. I do not want to pitch virtually. I want to be there, you know? So then they said, the other option is you can fly into Toronto, quarantine, all this stuff, whatever. Or you can drive and quarantine on a shorter basis and whatever. So I drove to Toronto. I stayed downtown Toronto overlooking the Scotiabank in an Airbnb that was like $99 a night because no one was renting. I drove my pickup truck, and Toronto was a ghost town. It was the most bizarre thing. I do my COVID test. They stick the thing up my nose, whatever. I'm good. I'm clear. I quarantined for, I think it was like 5 to 7 days. Did the pitch. I had no physical contact with anybody. Like everyone from like a 12-foot distance was like, there's your change room, or like, there's your whatever, right? So I go in, they get me into the studio at 6 a.m. My pitch is at 8 a.m., I think. I didn't know this. They're just like, be there for 6. So of course I show up at 5:30, right? Ready to go. And I'm like, okay, like, who wants it? Let's go. So I was the very first pitch of the day. And based on the format, they give you 60 seconds of uninterrupted pitch. So you get 60 seconds to get what you need out before they're allowed to ask questions.
Interject. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I ended up getting about 2 minutes, which was great, which was gravy, but I only was guaranteed my 60 seconds. So a big focus preparing for the show is, what can I say in 60 seconds that is going to proactively answer questions, set me up to be like impress them in some way that they don't just immediately dismiss you, and so on and so forth. So once that happened, got that done, got my 60 seconds turned into 2 minutes, which was great. They started asking questions. People don't realize it was a 6 or 7 minute clip of me on TV, but it was a 45 to an hour long pitch.
Holy
so I was in there for 45, and you're 50 feet away from the closest dragon because COVID. You're not allowed models, so I got these mannequins. Like it's a half-assed display. Like it looks terrible.
It looked good. I thought it looked good.
Yeah, I mean it's different than live models. But then of course your dragons are there, but they're also spread out from one another. And there's a piece of red tape on the floor, and the producer's like, that's where you stand for your pitch, because it's like the ultimate camera angle or whatever. Huge lights, man. You can hardly even see the dragons because the lights are like in your eyes. Like on TV, my eyes look super green. It's like I didn't even know I had green eyes, man, until they shine those lights like down into my soul. So then you're standing there under the heat of the lights. You're nervous. You're on TV. You're like seconds away from complete humiliation if you make a mistake, right? And what I did was, I studied the show. I wrote down all these questions, and I anticipated all of the difficult questions. And I was honest with myself, which I would recommend to someone going on, the weaknesses in your business, because they're going to find them, and you better have a good answer for them, right? They understand you're new and you're up and coming. That's why you're there. You're not a genius. You don't have it all figured out. That's why you're on the show. But your weaknesses, you have to have somewhat of an answer and things. So there was a lot of questions that I answered proactively, weeks in advance, that I just copy pasted to them because I anticipated that they were going to ask. Manjeet she was cut up as a villain. Like it really looked like she hated me. In real life, she was nice, like she was fine, but she was critical.
Yeah.
And then there was one question, my cost of accusation. I didn't answer. So I did all my math, my profits, my blah, 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 all the numbers, the margins, all the stuff, right? Did all the math. I knew it off the back of my head. I did not know that number.
Oh, man.
And I stumbled, and I looked at Michelle, because it was Michelle that asked it, who's like heavily econ based. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Instead of making up a number or lying or trying to, I was just like, I'm not sure. And I was like, fuck, if that gets cut, man, I'm looking like such a moron. And they never showed that. So that was my one big fail when I left. I was like, I needed to know that answer. I didn't know the answer. But I had 4 dragons. Like I did the math on what the valuation, all that stuff was, what I thought it should be. And I had 4 dragons offer. I let them, this was on purpose, I let them negotiate kind of bicker because I didn't want to say like jump and say, well, that's a good deal. Let's talk about that. I wanted to hear from everybody, which they wean themselves out a little bit with the banter. And then, they said, you can think, like, they asked me, and based on the show, you think you have no time at all to decide. They're like, oh, take your time. They pull out their cell phones, they're texting, they're doing their thing. And I'm standing there like, and sometimes people go in the back to make a call. It's like, I don't have anyone to call. Like, it's just me. So I acted like I was thinking about it, but I already knew in my head what I would accept, what I wouldn't accept, which dragons I wanted, which ones I didn't. So I acted like I thought about it. I didn't think about it. It was a quick yes. So then we did the thing. And then the interesting part that nobody knows about is when you pitch, only 50% of people get on TV.
That's right. Yeah.
Only 50% air. So I went down knowing I got a deal in handshake deal. That's not on paper, by the way. Handshake deal. I think it's good. I don't know, but that's up to the production. Is this going to make good TV? That's what gets you in or out of the TV airing. And they give me 8 days notice in November. So I pitched end of August, November, 8 days notice that said, okay, you're going to be on TV. Prepare yourself, prepare your inventory, prepare your social medias, prepare blah, 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 blah. But I already prepared all that, just assuming I would be on TV. And if I wasn't, well, you figure it out, right? But I wanted to be ready if I was. So I did the inventory, all the stuff. So it aired in November, which was great for like pre-Christmas, Black Friday.
Oh, man.
It was really good. All the local media, newspapers, radios, all that, they did a story before the episode, and then they did a story after the episode. So the media coverage, the stories before and after those episodes were just as good as being on TV. The promo on TV was really, really good. Just good awareness, good all that stuff, And it aired on November like 12th or something. I didn't have a deal signed because the Dragons wanted to see the public reaction before they signed the contract. Wow. So they were doing their due diligence. They're doing all that stuff. And I got a deal on TV, handshake, but there was no deal signed until after that episode aired. So everyone's congratulating me. Congrats, like, good job. And so thankful for that. But it wasn't really done yet, So thank God the due diligence worked out, and the public had a good reaction. So we ended up I signed with Lane Merrifield, but there was a lot of unknowns and a lot that people didn't realize about that show. And the interesting part, there's one last thing I'll say, is the deal I accepted on TV was never brought up again in real life. We renegotiated from zero. Complete renegotiation. The entire deal was completely reformatted, and the original deal was never brought up. That equity in exchange for dollar amount was never brought up again.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not what it seems. That's long story short. It's really not what it seems. But the promo of it, man, if your business is in order, I suggest doing it, because you're out a day of regionally pitching. You're out a few hours of doing interviews and all that stuff, and then you're out a few days of preparation, and you're out a few days of travel. You're looking at 2 weeks max on the high end of everything of your time for a massive opportunity. And it's great for like credibility and like pitching. Like if there's an important pitch, I drop the link. I'm like, this was us on Dragons Den. If you need, in 6 minutes, you'll learn everything you need to know about our business. There's the link, and it adds credibility and stuff too, right? So to me, if your business is in order, I would recommend giving it a shot.
So are you still working with Lane?
Yeah. So he's more of a mentor role than like an active investor now. So we are in touch. It's not super frequent, not like a partnership, but yeah, I mean, we're still connected.
But there was a deal that you worked out.
Yeah, we worked out a deal, and the deal was more of a mentorship, because I went on. I didn't need you could always use more capital. No disrespect to capital, but that wasn't really what I wanted. I wanted a mentor. That's why I went on that show. I wanted someone that I could bounce ideas off of, someone that has been there, done that, has had success, and someone that I can just talk to. That's what I really wanted out of it. Yeah.
And what did you see as soon as the episode aired, like online sales?
It took it didn't happen like while the episode was airing. I was like checking my Shopify. I was like, well, there's a lot of site visits, but I was like, oh, no one's buying yet. What's going on? But then no, like the week after, like that week, we noticed a huge spike. It was our biggest November to date, and it was like I said, perfect storm right before Black Friday, right when people are Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
And all the media coverage. I can't stress that enough. Like the local newspapers, radio stations, all that covered it. And even like a Vancouver paper covered it because I was drafted to the Canucks, right? So it made for an interesting story. So the media around it and the awareness and the promo that come off of it was great. And then we run the video as a paid ad too, right?
Yeah.
So I would recommend if someone's business is in order, give it a shot because it's worth your time. I've been there and done that, and I've wasted lots of time in my career. That was not a waste of time.
That's awesome. No, I was really excited to hear the full story. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I might have to have another look at seeing if we can.
Well, they would love your personality, and that's part of it too, right? Like
they want TV, right?
It's TV, but they want people that are like, because it's a show, they're selling the dream, right?
Yeah.
So they want people that are dreamers. They want people that are trying to make it, that are risking it, that are, and you're one of those people. Like you've rolled the dice and bet on yourself multiple times. Like those are the people they want to put on because they want to sell the dream. Like this could be you. Like if you have a big dream, this could be you, right?
Yeah.
So I think, clothing is the hardest industry. They told me that to get on to, but I think you would be a good fit.
My goal is to both Dustin and I one day to be on Dragon's Den, but be the Dragons.
Yes.
I see Dustin and I as a combo package. Like we're sitting in the love seat, like it's not making a deal with one another. We're a package deal.
Yeah. You'd be like, okay, let's start tomorrow. Let's go. And Dustin would be like, hang on. We got to do the due diligence here, Connor. You can't just write this guy a check here. We got to look at his book.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I trust him. Fuck, he looks like a good guy. What can I say? Let's go.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, man. That's great.
Yeah. So you're going to go on now that I just sold it to you or what?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I'm already, I was like, well, it's January now. We got to August to prepare. Like,
yeah. I'm a sales rep for them actually. So I just get paid.
You get a commission.
Yeah. I get a commission off that, man.
I'll just use your referral code.
Yeah. When you sign the deal, I get 5%. So just thanks, man.
Worth it. Worth every penny.
Oh yeah.
No, that's great. Well, no, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but like I said, I was just thinking about you, and I was just like, yeah, I'd love to catch up, and chat with Sawyer. And
so what's next for you? What's next for your business?
The 2 words for 2024 is people and process. We're going to be hiring a couple more people, and we've really got to lock down on our process procedures. We dropped the ball so much this past year just because I think we bit off a lot more than we could chew with a lot of different aspects in the business. So we got to get more people and just better process is what we got to do.
This will be the millionth time I've mentioned this on the pod, but I'm a huge advocate for it. There's a book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. Have you heard of it?
We read that last year. That's
read it last year. So that's people and processes in a nutshell. Exactly. That's teaching you how to do that. Yeah. So I'm glad that you read that.
That was the book, Buy Back Your Time. I love that book.
Yeah.
And so, that book led us to hire a virtual assistant to help me with, and now that they were only helping like a couple hours a week and now a couple hours a day. And now like I need someone full time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. It's exciting building, isn't it? It's exciting.
It is. It's so much fun. Like I can't imagine doing anything else. Like my absolute worst days doing this are 10 times better than my best days when I was like working a corporate gig,
right?
Sitting in a cubicle all day. Like I hated it. So even if I have awful days and probably not making as much money, as I could have if I had stayed in a different career, but I just every day I'm just so grateful. Like I'm the happiest guy you'll ever meet because I'm just like doing what I'm supposed to be doing what I love.
Well, that's the measure of success, man. If you're happy, if you're fulfilled, if you're happy, it's, you say you can be making more money and everybody could be making more money in different ways, but it's like, you got to get up every day and be excited about what you do. And I've worked a lot. I've been working since I was 12 years old. I've worked a lot of jobs I didn't like. And I appreciate this one because I know what those other 10 jobs, how miserable I was doing those.
Yeah.
And so and that puts things into perspective because you got to be happy. And it's like you said, you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. Me neither. I used to play hockey. I never had the love for hockey that I do for business.
Really?
Never, not even close. I mean, I loved hockey, but then I learned a whole nother new level of my passion. And I go to work every day, happy to be there. And the holidays couldn't have ended soon enough. Like I needed a week off, whatever. A week, a little more than a week was nice, but I was ready to get back. And
itching.
It's what I love doing. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you making the time, buddy. And
this is great.
Yeah, keep me posted. Like, and again, like I just want us to be there for each other. Like, if you ever need anything or looking for like, hey, you manufacturer for this, or do you know anyone that can do this? Like, I think it's so important for us, as you call it, grassroots clothing companies to stay together and support one another, even if it's just emotionally.
Yeah, no, it's shoulder to cry on. Is there room for a third on that love seat or what? I'll be right in the middle of you two.
Come on in. So no, I appreciate it. I was kind of worried. I was like, Sawyer hasn't heard from me in a while. Like, would it be weird?
No,
like,
of course.
Text him.
No, man, of course, anytime. And I feel like I feel like we've just scratched the surface with this. So I'm sure we'll have to do this again. I feel like we have another hour or two left in us. We'll have to do this again.
Big time. Yeah, big time. But so like, I could do this all day, but it's like both of us, we got real work to do. This is more fun.
I know. No, you're
otherwise
right.
nothing will ever get done.
Before we shut her down, where can everybody find you? Your handles for your businesses, your links, all that stuff. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so both the locallaundry.ca and then wearecdn.ca. Those are the two clothing companies. And you can find them on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Local Laundry at wearecdn. And then you can find me, Connor B. Curran, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the great usual places. So
cool. Awesome.
And yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. Always happy to help however we can.
Awesome, buddy. Appreciate it. It was great chatting. Thank you.
Yeah, you as well.
The Sawyer Hannay Show.